Okay, here are 5 mistakes that I've been making as an Etsy seller, and it will be very interesting to find out if you've been making them too, or maybe you've got some brand new ones. Let me know. But first, let's just dive into mine, shall we? Because why not? That's why we're here. Okay, the first one, and I'm laughing because this is something that I usually recommend other people do, and that is I have not been adding videos to my Etsy listings. There are some on the older ones, but the newer ones, no. Why? I have no time. Am I going to? Yes, eventually. But it's one of the mistakes that I am currently making, and I thought I would share that with you because maybe you can learn from my mistakes, even if I can't. Mistake 2. Not having enough items in my shop. Now, before I go on, I should point out there is no magic number when it comes to listings. There is a sort of unofficial rule. It's not a rule, but it's a well-known thing that the more items that you have, the bigger the net, and so I guess the more chances you have of making a sale. But certain niches are better suited to getting more listings out faster. Things like print on demand and digital products, they can be made quicker and turned around a lot quicker, whereas handmade items can be slower. And if you make handmade items, some of them are faster to make than others. Knitting is a notoriously slow one. Hand embroidery, just saying, it's not fast. It's like colouring in, but with stitches, one at a time. So slow, but so satisfying. I digress, let's move on. It should be said, though, that having a certain amount of items in your shop at least shows your customers that you are active in your shop. Personally, as a buyer, I'm always a bit turned off when I go into a shop and there's only like 4 items in there, which is funny because up until recently, I think I had only 5 in mine. But funnily enough, now that I have more items in my shop, I'm making more sales. I know, shocking, but if you're making one-of-a-kind items, it can be pretty tricky to keep stock in the shop. So what I've been doing is trying to introduce more evergreen items that can be made again and again without too much time. And that seems to be working. While there is no magic number, Etsy suggests that you start your shop with 10 items. I personally, and this is again just a personal preference, I like to have at least 20 items in my shop, preferably more, but minimum 20. I currently have 21. Haha, go me. God, I hate this one. Right, mistake 3, not having cohesive branding in your shop. Oh my gosh, I suck so hard at this. Branding is just another thing to do. And I just don't seem to have the time to sit down and think about how I want my business to look in terms of colours and banners and logos. And I know you should do it, or you should actually, I'm going to rephrase that. You don't need to do it. I make sales and fairly regular sales at the moment, and I don't have any consistent branding. Your business is not going to die if you don't have it. That being said, I have had at one point, believe it or not, consistent branding across my business, and it ran a lot smoother because when buyers come to your thing, your website, your shop, your whatever, they just instinctively know that they are in the right place. They get an instinctive feel for what it is that you stand for, what you do, and yeah, if they're in the right place or not. Not having that branding, it doesn't necessarily stop you making sales at all, and I think I'm proof of that. But does it slow you down? I personally believe so, and I don't want to think too hard about how much I've slowed my own progress down from not having a consistent feel and perhaps look about my business. I'm working on it slowly, and we'll leave it at that. Okay, mistake 4. This is something I used to do. I don't do at the moment, and I'll explain in a minute. But the mistake that I see a lot of other people still doing is just focusing too much of their time on their SEO. Don't throw things at me. SEO is definitely important. I can't imagine a day where it won't be. But it's one part of many that you need to, I was going to say keep oiled, but that only works if I'm using the right metaphor. It's one cog of many in the Etsy machine that needs to be oiled regularly to keep it moving smoothly. Or, I do like my metaphors, here's another one. Imagine a relay race. SEO is the first person in the relay race. and it gets your item into the mix and seen. And then the next thing your customer is going to do, if they like your item, is click on it. So SEO comes along, passes the baton on to your photographs, because that's what gets the click. And then from photographs, it goes to the next thing and the next thing and next thing. You have to think about your customer journey. I hate that phrase, but it's a good one, because, you know, you have to think like your customer. Start from the beginning and how they would interact with your listing all the way to the cart. All of those pieces work together, and if one of them is broken, people are going to click into your listing and they're going to click out again. You don't want that. So yes, I think people can spend too much of their time focusing on one part of the whole machine that they neglect the other parts. And that's what I used to do. I've gone the other way now, and I completely neglect my SEO pretty much. I don't really pay it much attention these days. I know, it's only a small cog. But I've been focusing more on the products themselves with the intention to come back and oil those cogs. But yes, you can focus too much on one thing at the detriment to others. Mostly it's SEO. For me, it's just a different cog, or all of them. And number 5, not promoting yourself or your products enough. Guilty. It's not enough to launch your products and then just tell people about it once or twice and then nothing. Which is, what I do. You have to remind people that they're there. And I've just noticed in the background that I've got this. This is something that I made over a year ago, and I have not been promoting it. Why? Well, I'm torn. Part of me wants to keep this for myself, and the other part of me is thinking that that is not good business, and partly I want to sell it. So I'm a bit torn. And I'm kind of using that as an excuse to not promote it. And this is the thing, even if you've had something in the shop for some time, you don't need to focus on new and shiny things in order to make sales. You can just spend some time promoting your current products. And I need to take my own advice there and start doing that. And these are not the only mistakes that I am currently making or have made in the past. I can promise you that. In fact, if you would like to know some more of my mistakes, here are some mistakes that I've learnt since reopening my shop just over a year ago. But mistakes are how we learn. So, you know, I'm going to go with that. Right, I'll see you next time. Ta-ta!